Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to Under the Hood, Ask a Pro. My name is Tony. We're live every Thursday at 3 o'clock to answer your car questions. So thank you for watching. If you have any comments during the live, answer them. Go ahead and ask them right now, and at the end of the live, I will answer them. If you have any topics, or if you're not even watching this live, if you're watching it later, still comment, and I'll get to them next week. So thanks everyone for watching. And today what we're going to talk about is car buying tips, or if you're in the market for a used car, what should you be looking for? Of course, I would recommend taking it to an experienced technician or repair shop and have them inspect the vehicle. Here, we actually have two businesses in one here at Autotex. We have our repair facility, Autotex Service, but we also are before you buy auto inspections. And what we mainly do is auto inspections, specifically used car inspections. So I'll get into some details of what we do here, but 3 tips that you can do, and maybe to narrow down cars as you're looking for them, because there are a lot of cars out there that are in terrible shape, that may be worse, if you're replacing a car, in worse shape than what you have now. So what can you do as a consumer to maybe narrow down before you spend the money to take it to a professional like us to have it inspected? And the first question we always get with our customers, what kind of car should I buy? What's a good car? And really, there's not any bad cars out there. There are cars that have not been taken care of, which make them bad. So if you have a car that needs an engine, it's going to be $7,000, let's just say, to put a remanufactured, warranted engine in. But you decide you're not going to do that, and you spend $10,000 maybe on a used car, but maybe that car needs $4,000 worth of repair. So you need to protect yourself before purchasing a used car, because it's a terrible investment. As soon as you finance or you buy this vehicle, it's going to start going down in value. You're going to have repairs. So the last thing you want is to replace the car with one that needs extra repair. So now you have higher insurance, you have a car payment, and you may have car repair building on top of that. So now you have a whole lot more expenses than you were planning on. So first thing, find a car that's comfortable for you, if it's an SUV or car. Now once you find that vehicle that's right for you, then you find the particular car that's in really good shape. So I always like to start with a test drive. And a couple things to pay attention to on this one is actually before you buy auto inspection that we're doing. When I test drive them, we want to make sure we don't have any warning lights on. So if you're test driving the car and they say, oh, that's just a maintenance light on, don't believe them. Just say no. I want all the warning lights to be off. So be sure all the warning lights are off, and go for a test drive. And what you're going to pay attention to is the steering wheel. Is it straight as you drive down the road? Is it off a little bit? Or if you let go of the wheel, does it drift a little bit to the left or the right, which could indicate maybe a steering or suspension problem, or an alignment issue. So pay attention to that. Another thing you want to pay attention to is how the transmission shifts. I've had a lot of customers bringing cars for the inspection, and I don't give maybe a block down the road before I realize there's something obviously wrong with the transmission. And normally the customer admits it at the very beginning, like, I just drove this over here and something doesn't feel right. So if you are looking at a particular car, like we'll just use the Equinox, because that's what this vehicle is, and you're looking at about 3 of them on the internet for pricing, and you drive one and it doesn't shift right, just go ahead and go on to the next one. You know, there's no sense in wishing that it's going to be okay, or talking to yourself into that that it's going to be okay once you get it to a repair shop. Another thing to pay attention to, turn the radio down and take it out on the highway. Get up to speed. See if you hear any abnormal noises. Of course, every car has their own noise and little perks and wind noises. So even though you hear something, it could be normal for that vehicle, but stay in tune with it. Especially if you're looking at 3 or 4 Equinoxes and you have driven them and you have one different than the other, that may influence your decision. So if you're driving down the road, the steering wheel's off, you hit bumps and things are clinging, the car doesn't want to track straight and the transmission's banging, stop, get out, find another vehicle, stay away from it. There's no sense in wasting your money taking it to a shop to get inspected, because most likely there's probably something already really wrong with the car itself. And of course, always, if you are driving a car and you have issues and there's questions and you're not comfortable with it, or you're asking the person that's selling the car and you're not trusting their answer, always give us a call. We answer questions all the time about particular noises and problems, and we may be able to help you. Or if there's a car with a certain kind of problem, you know, what's a repair or what to expect, we'll be more than happy to help you. So test drive. You test drive it, everything it sounds good, it drives straight, transmission smooth, engine performance, it's not shaking when you give it gas, it accelerates nice and smooth. The easiest thing to check now is all the interior. And number one is cleanliness. If someone has taken care of the inside and outside of the car, you can almost guarantee they've done the oil changes, they've done the regular maintenance. If you get into a car and it kind of stinks, you can tell the carpet's been shampooed, there's burns in the seats and cuts, they probably haven't been kept up on the oil changes or the air filters or their spark plug. So always keep that in mind. We see thousands of cars here, and I can almost guarantee I can get in a car that's never been here before, and just kind of look around and know what kind of condition it's going to be under the hood. So use your gut when you're looking around. Look at the headliner, look at the seat, see what's going on. Play with all of the buttons. So on this car here, we got all kinds of buttons. So we want to make sure the air conditioning is blowing cold. You want to make sure this one has 12 settings. Make sure the fan is blowing on every speed. We're going to cycle through the face and floor. Make sure it's going to the floor. When the doors are shifting, make sure there's no noises. Go to heat. Make sure it's blowing heat from both, not only the passenger, but the driver's side vent. I like to use the washers. Let's make sure they both spray. There's no streaking. You know, pick it apart. Press every single button. One hidden feature that I always check is your vanity mirror. You know, are both of the lights working? We got map lights. Just go through the vehicle completely. Make sure all the bells and whistles, the door locks, the seat belts, basic things you don't have to have a professional to look at. Do the seats fold down? One thing we found on this one was the upholstery cover starting to come off, and there's supposed to be a zipper here to hold that in place, and it's not, and it just kind of, you know, covers coming off, which is not a big deal breaker. But something you want fixed. You can tell that, you know, there's been a car seat. There's a couple little marks, but overall, you know, looking at this vehicle, it's actually in pretty good shape. So as I raise it up, and here in a little bit, I'll go over everything that we kind of do here that you probably won't be able to do at a dealership or on a test drive. So we check the interior. We know the engine, transmission feel good. Another thing you can look on the outside is just overall appearance of the outside of the car, dings and dents, and of course the tires. Now I've talked to you guys before on looking at the tires and tread depth gauge, but I'm going to go a little into depth in how I use a tread depth gauge and a couple things with the tires itself. So on this car, we have the tread, and see here, tread depth gauge. So you're going to have a wear indicator on every single tire. There we go. For some reason I'm just getting a glare. Tread depth gauge. Okay, so that's 3/32, that little nub. So what we want is good amount of tread. So we have a depth gauge with some readings, and all we do is we take a reading, we stick it in, the little plunger goes out, then we wait for where it lines up with a number, and that's a 9. So 9/32, which is great. Most tires now that come out on the market, you'll have 10 to 11/32. Some of the mud or all-terrain tires, you may have 12/32. So you have, this car has about 80% tread remaining. I've already looked at this car, so all around. And also, you want to see if the wear between the outside and the inside are the same. Make sure we don't have a camber or caster issue with the tires. So if those 3 items pass with your initial inspection, then yes, I think it's time to set up an appointment with a certified shop, or even more importantly, hopefully us. So what we would do, we do all these things. We have a over 100-point inspection where we check everything from the tire pressures to accidents or collisions. And when I talk about collisions, what we're looking for is the frame. So in the front end, here's part of the subframe. This car doesn't really have a frame, so to speak, but we'll have like a unibody frame, which is right here. We don't see any beading or any squashed metal. Same thing with the radiator support, because if you're in a front end accident, these are the items that are going to be damaged. So we're looking for new replaced parts or metal that's been worked or hammered on or repainted. And on this one, looks pretty good. This car is what we call a subframe or a cradle, which is here, bolts in all four corners. Everything is looking really straight. We have some surface rust, which is not uncommon for our area here in Lexington with the salt and brine. Exhaust, little surface rust on the bolts. That is common. Nothing to be, concerned about. Then, of course, when collision, you want to look on the side. We have our unibody frame here as we go down. Nothing bent. Occasionally, if a car's been in an accident and the frame is kind of off a little bit, you'll have a frame shop hooked to these points here and maybe stretch it or try to get it true. And I haven't seen anything on that on this particular vehicle. Same thing in the rear. We'll have these floor pans for where the spare tire and the rear bumper meet. These are hard to replace. So normally if it's been in a rear end accident, you'll see definitely some bending or distortion in the metal. And of course, all that looks great on this particular car all around. So if it's a pickup truck that you're looking at, you can always go underneath it and look at it. Of course, we check steering, suspension, and all that. Another thing that we look for that's hard to see outside, and that's paint. Because we want to look at it for if it has any paint work. On this car, you can see, as we see a reflection, everything's nice. So I'm going to let you look at my light. So as we look through the light, through the LED, we're looking for any kind of scratches or imperfections or paint marks. This car has none, so I can't really show you an example. So if we look at the sunlight, it's just glass, so it's hard to see if there's any perfection. That's why it's important to look under the LED lighting, because if there's any dings or dents or body work or sand marks, you will see them under that kind of light condition. So just because the car looks great out there in the lot and on the test drive doesn't mean there's not signs of paint or maybe even collision. Now, this doesn't mean that it has to be, major collision. It could just be a shopping cart hit it, and or a ladder in your garage fell over, and it was just cosmetic at that point. So if you have any questions, go ahead and ask them, and I'm going to get to them here in just a few. And we'll just review a couple of things. And Carfax. So Carfax is important. I always review it. Just because it's not on Carfax doesn't mean it hasn't been an accident or a collision. Most of the time, Carfax is going to be written down if it's gone through insurance, if there's been a claim. So, for example, say I have this vehicle, I just bought it, I'm in my garage getting some yard work ready, the ladder comes down and hits the side of it, I pay a body shop to repair it, and I don't put it on the insurance, so it's not posted to possibly Carfax. So a car may come in as I do this inspection and say, well, this area has been painted for some reason. Could be cosmetic, but the frame looks good. Don't see any signs of collision. It could be something cosmetic like that. Whitney, thanks for checking out my car. Okay, so by the way, so this car is for Whitney. So thanks for tuning in. I have great news for you. Your car's in really good shape. So Whitney unfortunately was in an accident. So she had a really good car. We did all the maintenance. We just put brand new tires on it, and unfortunately got into an accident that wasn't her fault. So when you're in that situation, it's hard because you have a car with low miles. It may be older, but now you have to replace it with a newer car, and there's a lot of pressure and there's a lot of risk. So don't worry about it. Your car's in really good shape. So I appreciate you watching. And anyone else, which is a good point. If you have car problems and you would like to bring it to us for us to work on it, maybe you want us to show it on Facebook Live, call me, let's schedule it. Maybe we can work on it live or figure out a problem or a noise or whatever you're having. And, we can just do it on Facebook Live and hopefully figure out what's going on. Or if it stumps me in front of everyone live, that's fine. I'm not too concerned with it. So once again, everyone, thanks for watching. If you do have comments, if it's not live, still comment them. I'll get to them next week, which we're going to be talking about air conditioning, I promise. I know I said I was going to make a 3-part service and starting this week, but I think next week we'll kind of dive into how AC systems work. So if you have any questions about that, go ahead and ask them now, and I'll get to them first thing live next week at 3, or we'll ask them next week. Thank you for watching. Drive safe. Bye.